Welcome into the Bassmaster studio, and it's obviously a weird time. A lot of delays, postponements in the sport of professional bass fishing right now. But we want to take the time to talk to one of our Elite Series pros, and it's a guy we all know. His nickname has been around forever, and that's Dollar Bill Lowen. What's going on, Bill? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you all for having me, especially during these crazy times.
We obviously know that we all want to be out on the water. We all want to be outdoors. That's the great time of year to do that. For you, how have you handled this unexpected break? You taking your kids fishing? Have you gone and done some early hunting if it's in season or whatnot? What has Bill Lowen been doing?
You know, we've been really fortunate here in Indiana that they haven't shut down any of our access points or anything like that. You know, they have shut down tournament fishing, which, you know what, when we're all shut down, as far as tournament fishing goes, I think that's a good thing across the country. You know, but like I said, I'm very fortunate right here to be really close to a lake, and we just been spending time on the water. You know, I've been taking the family. You know, I'm very fortunate that the family gets to travel all over the country with me all year long, and we've just been continuing that here in this downtime. We've been crappie fishing during the day and walleye fishing at night. You know, just trying to stay away from the big crowds and spend much time together as we can.
Between your daughter knocking down big deer, your son catching walleye and crappie with the best of them, you guys have genuinely an outdoor family, and we're going to see them probably professional fishermen, professional hunters, all kinds of things. Is that what you expect from your kids going forward?
You know, it's really hard to say. I mean, after that performance my daughter did at the Classic, I ain't so sure she might not be a singer. But you know what? We have made my love for the outdoors our lifestyle. I mean, typically everything that we do revolves around the outdoors, whether that be hunting or fishing. I think it's just something that us as a family, we love to do together, and we love to share that. And we just love to kind of pass that on to, you know, friends, family, you know, just try to get people into the outdoors that maybe don't have this opportunity.
So, Bill, you're in your 15th year. That's a long time, and I was thinking back about it. 15 years ago, the Bassmaster Elite Series was started, and you were one of the original anglers your rookie year, that first year of the Bassmaster Elite Series. What have you seen change in your own game from year one, 2006, a full-blown rookie just trying to make it on the Pro Series, to 2020, Bill Lowen, seasoned pro, making classics, having a shot at winning, and obviously having a nickname that resembles money, which is a good thing in the sport of fishing?
You know, I think, if anything, that I've seen change over the years, and it's been a long time. I was thinking it was 14 years, but now you're really making me feel old. I think it's just as the more time you spend on the water, and years and years and years, you start making better decisions. You know, I'm finally to a point in my career where being able to take more chances and more risk and gamble on the water, where necessarily not having to fish for a check. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I got my nickname Dollar Bill, is, you know, cashing checks. Early on in my career, I had to cash those checks to pay the bills and keep going forward. You know, and here over the last few years, you know, I've been able to take a lot more chances and a lot more risk, where years ago, maybe I wouldn't have taken those chances. So, you know, the biggest thing for me is just, you know, fishing my style, fishing in my comfort zone, and being able to make really good decisions on the water.
One of the things I admire, and I know fans at home admire the most about Bill Lowen, is your incredible patience, and also some of the old school techniques that you still utilize, whether it's an Ohio River spinnerbait, something that's just for your neck of the woods that works for tough fisheries, or flipping a tube. There's a lot of things that Bill Lowen does that a lot of us anglers need to take note on to improve our game. For you, one thing I'm going to point out: fishing docks. The last two memorable clips, Lake Lanier, you caught 6 fish off of one dock, didn't even move your boat. And then this year at the Bassmaster Classic, you caught, I believe, 4 or 5 fish to start your morning within 7 or 8 minutes, just being patient. So where does that derive from for Bill Lowen?
You know, I think that comes, and I hate to always harp on the Ohio River because you hear me talk about it so much, but I think, if anything, what the Ohio River has done for me is it's taught me how to pick pieces of cover apart. You know, on the Ohio River, you may fish a whole laydown because there's only one fish in that tree. The Ohio River doesn't have a big population of fish, and we use Guntersville, for example, like a Guntersville, where if you pull up to a big giant laydown on Guntersville, there may be 4 or 5 fish in there. So the way I grew up fishing was on the Ohio River on a laydown. You had to hit every sweet spot, every high percentage spot, make casts that other anglers didn't make, just to get that one bite. And all I've done in my career is continue that over on the Elite Series. So when I pull up to a piece of cover, whether that be a dock, a rock, a stump, sunken washer and dryer in the water, whatever that may be, I'm going to make repetitive casts to what I think is the high percentage spots of that piece of cover. And I'm going to milk it for everything it's worth. Like you hear me say all the time, if I think there's 10 fish in that tree, I want to catch at least 9 of them. So if anything that the Ohio River's done for me, it's taught me how to pick cover apart, be patient, and make casts that other anglers aren't making. You know, you may make that same cast 8, 9, 10 times, and finally get a bite off that piece of cover. It's no different than fishing offshore structure, you know, with a big crankbait or a football head jig. You make multiple casts of that piece of cover to try to get those fish to bite. And when I'm attacking a laydown or visible cover, it's no different for me.
So for you though, when you're picking apart a laydown, we'll break it down 2 different pieces of cover: a laydown and a dock. For a laydown, how are you going to approach that? Is it going to be flip to the sides and then go straight to the heart of it? Or for a dock, is it going to be flipping to the posts and then trying to skip through that gap? Or are you going to skip through the gap first? How do you judge on a piece of cover if you just want to dive right in where you think they are, or try to pick off 1 or 2 before you get to what you would consider the sweet spot?
Typically for me, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to dissect that piece of cover. I'm always going to start on the outside and work my way in. You know, I want to catch those fish that I'm calling are loose on that piece of cover, that are maybe out there in the end of the treetops, maybe even suspended. I call those loose fish. I want to work on those first, because here's what happens. If you try to go to the heart of that piece of cover and you wrestle that fish out of that laydown, you may blow an opportunity at 2 or 3 other bites that you would have never got. So simply by starting on the outside and then working your way to the heart of that piece of cover, you're definitely, without a doubt, going to catch more fish off of a single piece of cover.
One thing that I've learned from the Bassmaster Elite Series pros and anglers, old classics, whatever it might be, is you guys worry about getting the fish out of the cover after you worry about getting the bite. You guys will put it in the tightest places or the scariest stuff, breaking your line or getting hung up, or maybe not even getting the fish in there, over cables, over bars. But you guys desire getting that bite and then worrying about it. Is that something that goes into your mind when you're looking at places you're like, that the normal anglers aren't going to pitch to that spot or this spot, so I've got to do that because a fish could be sitting there?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, every time I roll up to a piece of cover, I try to position that boat to make the right cast, to not maybe for you to be able to get that fish out of there as easy as possible. Yeah, we take a lot of chances because we know that other anglers aren't making that cast. But that comes with having, so much confidence in your equipment that unless something drastic happens, you're going to be able to get that bite and get that fish out. You know, the other thing is if you don't get that bite, you're never going to have the opportunity to catch that fish. So I've always been that guy that tries to put it where other guys aren't putting it.
So changing gears, Bill, you fished the Bassmaster Classic just a couple weeks ago, and it's always a special occasion, but what was it like for you, someone who's been on the Elite Series since the beginning, to roll out in the 50th Classic? Did it feel any different to you than it did past Classics or your first Classic? Or is it that's still that nostalgia, that big moment, and just being grateful that you're able to compete at the 50th Bassmaster Classic?
You know, that was my 10th Bassmaster Classic, and to be honest with you, it felt like the very first one. You know, I think that anytime you have an opportunity to fish the Bassmaster Classic or even be part of it is something huge. You know, everybody always asks me how do you judge if you had a good year or not? And I always base my year on, did you qualify for the Classic? Angler of the Year is great and winning events is great, but to be able to qualify year in and year out for the Bassmaster Classic and be part of something that is so special, the biggest stage in fishing. I mean, there's people that dreamed about that their whole life, to have an opportunity to be there. and some guys will get to live that dream and some guys won't. But as a bass fisherman, if you're a serious bass fisherman, not even a serious bass fisherman, but just a bass fisherman in general, I think we've all had that dream to stand on that stage. And yeah, the 50th anniversary was awesome. It was amazing. Truly honored to be part of that. But like I said, every classic to me is like the very first one. It has just, there's something about the Bassmaster Classic that is very, very hard to describe.
So, Bill, you started out your 2020 season at the St. Johns River with an okay finish, probably not up to your standards, but 47th out of 88, right there in the middle of the pack. Not too terrible, but not the best finish. What did you see transpire for the way you were fishing at the St. Johns River with all the changing conditions we had?
You know, this year's been all about changing conditions. You know, I had a really good pattern going, and I think I caught almost 14 pounds the first day. And yeah, that might not sound like a lot, but in that event, that was a good weight. And I had a little, which is kind of odd for me, a little offshore deal going, dragging a worm. And the second day, I don't know if boat traffic or too much pressure or whatever made those fish disappear, you know, and I don't feel like I made the right adjustments. You know, that was an event going into it that I said I'm not going to make any mistakes because I'd made some the prior year when we were there. And I just typically, I just fished, I just fished dumb there, I want to say. And I know that sounds bad, but, you know, typically for me, every time we're there, that time of the year, I always go north on the river and check that out. A lot of places that Paul Mueller fished, or he actually won that event, or areas that typically I fish every time we're there. And for whatever reason this year, like I said, I just fished dumb, and I didn't go that way. And it, as you can see, the tournament was won there. And I'm not going to say it bit me in the butt, but it's pretty hard to watch Paul Mueller win on areas that you typically fish all the time.
And nothing to take away from Paul Mueller's win, because it's hard to win an Elite Series event in general. But with it being 3 days instead of 4, with it being tougher and extreme conditions, it seemed to line up for that north end of the St. Johns River much better than those blowouts that take 90, 100 pounds to win in past years. It needed one of those 16 to 18 pound days per day to win that event. That's what it seemed like it needed to be to win up north. And is that what you had seen in past years based on your quality of fish and your outcomes there?
You know, that's typically about right. That 16 to 18 pounds is typically a big bag going north. One year we were there, I think I had a day one total of like 22 pounds up there. And I think I might have been leading after the first day or maybe in second or something. But typically going north at 16 to 18 pounds is a good bag. You know, I think what kind of caught me off guard, and I'd say it caught a lot of other people off guard, is we were, I guess, living in history from the past of what happened the year prior to that, where everybody just, them big fish just they come as the week got warmer and warmer, and then big fish showed up. And I think we all thought that that was going to happen again. And that didn't transpire. You know, now, like I said, looking back on it, I kicked myself in the butt for not going north.
One thing that was really cool for the 2019 season, flashback to last year with you, was you kind of came out at Winyah Bay or at Lake Lanier. It was the second event of the year, I believe. I don't know if you started out at the St. Johns River, but you started giving out Bassmaster memberships when you made that Saturday cut. When you fished day 3 and on the stage, you would give out a Bassmaster membership to a young kid. First off, that's one of the coolest things ever as a kid who grew up with a Bassmaster membership, and it's taken me where I'm at. What made you do that? Is it something you and your wife talked about, or you and sponsors? What made you just give that away to each kid at an event and maybe change the rest of their life for fishing?
You know, we camp at every event, and one night I was laying in the camper, and I just couldn't go to sleep, you know, tossing and turning, and I was just, you know, something just came to me in the night that was like, you know, man, that would be really cool to give away a Bassmaster membership. You know, I can remember, and I keep talking about this story all the time. I can remember as a kid standing on the banks of the Ohio River after school, after baseball practice, whatever that may have been, and standing on this concrete block that I'd always walk down to the marina and stand on. And I can remember standing there saying, man, I want to be like Denny Brower someday, and I want to fish the Bassmaster Classic. You know, my dad was a tournament angler, and he would go off and, not a professional angler, but a local angler. And he'd go and leave for the weekend and go to events. And, I'd get left at home screaming, crying. And it was always that, hey, let's go look at the Bassmaster magazine. Let's go try to learn a technique. Or let's just go look at our heroes of the sport. And as growing up as a kid, somebody was always taking time out of their schedule to help me, whether that was hunting, fishing, whatever that may have been. And had they not done that, you and I might not even be talking today. So for me to be able to pick a kid out of the crowd and give them a Bassmaster membership, and maybe they already fish, and maybe they already have that dream of becoming a professional angler, standing on that Bassmaster Classic stage. And maybe I'm giving a membership to somebody that has no clue about bass fishing. And my hope is that I can just pass it on. And, if I can change one kid's life and make him have that dream, or maybe even be able to live that dream to stand on that Classic stage like I've done so many times, to me, that's what it's all about. You always hear me say, I want to be the best ambassador for this sport that I can be. And I think simply by sharing your knowledge and helping out as much as you can and simply passing something on like a Bassmaster membership, to me, that's what it's all about.
So, Bill, I want to talk to you about something that we've talked about many times. You've probably talked to yourself about it. My question to you is, when will Bill Lowen win a Bassmaster Elite Series event? You've been close so many times. You've been humble in defeat. You've had your moments where you've thought yourself that you were going to win an event while out on the water. I've been there in the camera boat watching some of those. But the way you handle yourself in defeat shows me that when you do win a Bassmaster Elite Series event and close the deal, that it's going to be a lifelong dream and an accomplishment for you. And getting over that hump sometimes hard, and people will judge you by that. But second place isn't an indication that you can't win. It's just an indication it wasn't your time.
I've always said and heard that when it's your time, it's your time. When God wants you to win, he's going to let you win. But you know what? I'll say this a million times. I've been so blessed with the people that have helped me. I've had, a lot of y'all know my story about my buddy that died, and his parents helped me chase my dream. And there's so many things that have come into play with Bill Lowen being where he is today, living his dream, fishing the Bassmaster Elites, qualifying for classics. That if I never win an event, I'll be good with that. I've always said that when I started this, I didn't want to be the best bass angler in the world. Yeah, I guess in theory that's what we are, but that's not my goal. My goal has always been to, one, be able to live my dream and support my family doing what I love. I mean, at the end of the day, you cannot put a price on that. And to be able to be the best ambassador for this sport, and just pass it on and pass my knowledge on and share, tips and everything that I know, whether, like I said, that be hunting or fishing. To me, I'm a winner at that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'd love to win an event. Yeah, I know it would solidify my career. But like I said, if it never happens, I'd be perfectly fine with that. I'm just going to keep my head down and keep grinding. It's so hard to win a 4-day event.
Look at this. Barely any.
And everything's got to go perfectly right. You got to have a little bit of luck.
That fish right
and
there gets to go
like I said, if it never happens, I'll be fine with that, because I feel like at the end of the day, I've accomplished my goals on being the best ambassador and passing it on, or paying it forward, however you want to say that. So yeah, we're just going to keep our head down, keep grinding, and when it's my time, it'll be my time.
We always say that, a win will solidify this angler's career or that angler's career, but oftentimes the way you carry yourself as a sportsman already solidifies who you are as a person. That's just a cherry on top. So, Bill, before we let you go, how can people follow you on social media? I know you tinker in your shop, you build your own baits, you do a lot of customization, so there's a lot of tips and tricks out there on social media that you put out. How can anglers and fans follow you to see those tips and what you're doing during this break?
A lot of the stuff we do is, simply on my Facebook page. We do some Twitter stuff and things like that. But yeah, make sure you stay tuned, because we're doing, I started a deal a couple weeks ago where had a lot of people sending in questions, and we've been trying to answer those. So we got a lot of cool stuff coming, and not only bass fishing, but walleye fishing, crappie fishing, some waterfowl stuff. So gonna do some walkthroughs of my Express bass boat with that Yamaha SHO on it. So and we're gonna do some duck hunting walkthrough of the waterfowl boats as well. So stay tuned. Go to my Facebook page, and let's get through all this, and so we can all get back to doing what we love.
Bill Lowen, if you look it up in the dictionary, outdoorsman, Bill Lowen is the definition of that right there. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us on Skype, Bill. I hope you and your family are well, and when we get back out on the Bassmaster Elite Series trail, we'll be sure to see you on Bassmaster Live.
All right, thank you guys.